want to say a really big thank you to everyone for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend this online event. Your presence here today is a testament to your commitment and passion for wildlife conservation. Welcome to Diglis Island, the heart of a conservation project that's changing the future of the UK's longest river. We're thrilled to invite you on this immersive video tour where you'll discover how our charity, in partnership with other organisations, has helped to revive the endangered Twaite Shad and many other important fish species in the River Severn by reconnecting 158 miles of river habitat. During the Industrial Revolution, weirs were installed to make the river navigable, hugely affecting many species that rely on the river. One of the fish most impacted by these weirs is the Twaite Shad, which lives most of its life out at sea. Every spring, they would migrate up the River Severn to spawn in their hundreds of thousands until the weirs blocked their path in 1840. Today, we have a solution that has unlocked their path, the unique fish pass we'll visit shortly. This video tour will be led by Mark Miles, our informal learning and interpretation officer. Later, we'll meet Sean Pope, one of the Canal and River Trust ecologists, and Aaron Batsman from the operation team, who leads our enthusiastic team of volunteers, an essential part of our maintenance tasks to keep the fish pass clean and clear of debris. They will help us to understand the impact on nature generated by those weirs installed in the Industrial Revolution and the clever solution that allows Twaite Shad and other endangered species to spawn up the river for the first time in almost 180 years. Unlocking the Severn is a conservation and river engagement project delivered by the Canal and River Trust, with our partners the Severn Rivers Trust, the Environment Agency and Natural England. This project is made possible through funding from the National Lottery Heritage Fund and the European LIFE programme. Without the support of our partners and funders, this project wouldn't have been possible. Now, as the charity who care for our 250-year-old network of canals and rivers, we will be taking on the ongoing financial responsibility of protecting this vital site, ensuring it thrives for generations to come. With a monthly maintenance and management cost of more than £3,000, we need your support today to keep this unique structure alive and help Twaite Shad to reach their spawning grounds in fresh water for the first time since 1840. During this video tour, you can take action and make a difference in protecting this endangered species and the river ecosystem by supporting our work with a gift today. You can easily donate by scanning the QR code on the screen or texting Diglis followed by your donation amount to 70460. Alternatively, if you're following the stream on Just Giving, you can click the Give Now button on your screen. Your gift today could help us in three main areas. £25 could help give free access to educational visits for schools and community groups, inspiring the next generation to protect and preserve our rivers and nature. £50 could help clear and protect the fish pass from trash and debris, ensuring a consistent slow water flow, making it easier for the migrating fish to travel upstream. £100 could help our local team carry out the weekly drain down and safety inspection of the fish pass for a fish migration research project. Thank you in advance for your generosity. As a charity, we rely on public support to maintain the fish pass and the unique underwater viewing gallery, which we'll discover shortly. Let's meet Mark Miles. Hi Mark.
Hi there, welcome to Diglis Island. Lovely to have you here today. So it wasn't actually an island originally. The story of the site starts back in the Industrial Revolution when they were looking at moving goods up and downstream, and the river was a really important route for that, a bit like the motorways of today. Unfortunately, it was tidal up to Worcester and a little bit beyond. So there was lots of discussions, and eventually the Severn Navigation Act of 1842 was passed, which allowed them to build 4 weirs, one at here at Diglis, one at Beverley, one at Holt and one further upstream at Lincoln, and also putting in the bypass channels and the locks. Now, as part of that, they built the lovely workshops and the cottage. They also built a chapel, and you can see some of the stained glass windows there. Unfortunately, whilst it was great for boats and navigation, it caused real problems for the fish living in the river. What I'll do now is I'll take you into the workshop and show you the renovation that we've done as part of the project. Welcome to the workshop. So this was built as part of the original 1842 project, and this is where they built lock gates throughout until the 1980s. After that, it was left in a bit of a state, really just used as dumping and storage ground. As part of the project, we've renovated it, put some interpretation in, but this is a really important space for our school visits. We have schools coming in working on epic engineering, which is a marble run where the children try and create a fish pass. The marble represents the water, and they're trying to make the marble go as slowly as possible. The aim is to provide free visits to schools and community groups so that we can encourage them to protect and preserve the canals and the rivers in the future.
It's really important to instill that interest in the next generation so that they're enthused to look after our river and ecosystems.
Absolutely. They get so much from being here and over in the viewing gallery, and it is that connection with what's going on. It's not just a piece of water they walk past. They have a real bond with nature, looking after everything. It's really important.
And this was a really important hub for the building of lock gates for this regional area.
Absolutely. So originally you would have had local hubs like this one at Diglis building these lock gates. They would take 6 weeks originally to build them. It would take 6 men 6 weeks to build a lock gate. Wow. Could be up to 12 tons in size. And then now there's 2 sites for the whole network where they build them. But yeah, it was a really crucial location.
It's amazing to picture this place bustling with people, manoeuvring massive pieces of wood by hand to build giant lock gates that would hold back the water. Absolutely.
Everything originally would have been done by hand. We've got some saws on the wall there that give you an idea of the size of the wood that we're talking. The machinery that's in the workshop now is from the 1950s, so would have made life a lot easier. But yeah, huge pieces of wood. You've got hoists in the ceiling that would have been used to move the wood from one side to another. You've got these rollers that originally went down the whole length of the workshop to help move the wood, so they could finally piece together the lock gates, which they would have done on the slipway outside.
It's like having a snapshot of history, walking in here and seeing the benches and the saws and imagining people working in here.
Absolutely. We've had visitors whose parents, grandparents worked on the island and seeing the machinery, and they talk about the smell that it evokes of, just get that idea of exactly how busy and bustling it would have been back then. And I think that's important for the school groups as well to appreciate where we've come from, what we do now, because it's all interlinked. I'll now take you where you can see the weir, so if you'd like to follow me.
Oh, fantastic, thank you.
So the island would have been self-sufficient back in the day. You've got the blacksmith with the original forge still there, and you can see on your right the tracks where they would have brought the large pieces of wood from the saw pit into the workshop to be manufactured. You can also see in front of you the crane that came from Cardiff docks in the 1950s. What they were doing was using the crane to lift those big pieces of wood onto the island, and we're looking to do some renovation and protect it so it will last for other generations to see. So on this side of the island, which was the original bend of the River Severn, you can see the weir itself. So that was put in as part of the Severn Navigation Act of 1842. Great for navigation, but it was a real barrier for fish. Coarse fish that live in the river all year round, and migratory fish such as the Twaite Shad, our project fish. That weir is 2 metres high, holding the water back so there's a consistent level of water for the boats. But the Twaite Shad, really strong swimmers, they live out at sea, enter the river in May when the water temperature is about 16 degrees, looking to spawn up towards Welshport in the historic spawning grounds. As soon as they got to Diglis though, that wall, that weir was a barrier for them. They just couldn't get over. Their numbers plummeted overnight. So rather than being hundreds of thousands of Twaite Shad in the river, it dropped down to about 10,000, 20,000, something like that. People along the river noticed the difference because they weren't catching them, and it's recorded historical records that the numbers just disappeared. Moving forward 180 years, the Unlocking the Severn project has built a fish pass, which you can see opposite, which helps the fish get from the lower level of the water up to the higher level of the water. We've been very lucky at Diglis that we've also built a viewing gallery where we can take our school children and the community visitors down below the level of the water, where we've got a 2-metre square window where hopefully you'll see some of the fish moving through, and at this time of year the Twaite Shad as well.
I'm really looking forward to going over to the underwater gallery to have that unique perspective under the river and see how the fish pass structure has helped the fish to get past that weir that completely blocked their way. And we would have had no idea when we were building that it was going to have such a massive impact on the fish populations just overnight.
Absolutely. The Victorians, you know, it was all about trade, navigation. They did think there might have been an issue, but they didn't do anything about it. But yeah, it's brilliant to be part of a project that has opened up 158 miles of the river to let these fish move back to their historic spawning grounds.
There are 3 ways to donate today. You can use the QR code on the screen, or you can text the word Diglis followed by your donation amount to 70460 to give that amount. Or if you're following the stream on Just Giving, you can click the Give Now button.
So here are the lock gates.
Oh, why are there 2?
We're not actually sure. It's the only location on the River Severn that's got the 2 lock gates side by side. We think it's partly because the smaller lock gate is an ideal size for the Severn Trow, which was a flat bottom boat that had sails they could lower down that would move up and down this part of the river. And then the larger lock gate, possibly for steamboats that were moving at that time in the 1840s, taking pleasure cruises across from one end of the river to another. These were still a real barrier to the fish moving upstream. The gates are closed most of the time, so they're not going to move through.
So these locks are a real barrier to all sorts of species, not just the Twaite Shad. Thanks, Mark. That's really interesting. Now we're going to meet Sean Pope, one of the Trust's ecologists, whilst we walk along and cross over the bridge to go to the underwater viewing gallery. And Sean's going to share with us some more interesting facts about the ecology of the Loch Island and the river. Hi, Sean.
Hello, Laura.
So we were just talking about the locks and how they're a real blockage to the Twaite Shad, but there are other species of fish that it would have been a problem for too?
Well, there's several fish species that it affects on this river. Firstly, there's the eel, which is itself critically endangered. And eels, unlike the Twaite Shad, they actually go to sea to breed, and then the young move upriver to recolonise the river. So it acts as a barrier to them. But also there's 2 species of lamprey in the river lamprey and the sea lamprey. And they live lower down the river towards the estuary and the sea, but they move up the river to spawn very much like the Twaite Shad, so it's a barrier to them. 2 more species, the sea trout and the salmon, which live in the river, although they can negotiate weirs, unfortunately it's a lot easier for them to go up the fish pass, so it wastes a lot less energy.
Thanks, Sean. Let's head on down to the bridge and cross over so we can go and have a look at the fish pass. And I'll ask you some more questions about ecology on the way. So Sean, you've told us about many different species of fish that will have found the locks and the weir a blockage to their movement. What other species would that have had a knock-on effect to?
Lots of species. What you've got to bear in mind is that fish of all sizes are a really important food source for a variety of predators along the river. So things like otters right the way down to water birds and other fish such as pike and trout. So it's very important that that food source is there, and Twaite Shad themselves are related to herring, which means they're a very oily fish and a really nutritious food source for various predators along the river. And when the Twaite Shad breed as well, they produce numerous eggs, which are a really good food source for invertebrates as well as water birds and small fish. And that really enriches the food web, makes it more complex and more stable. Certainly things like otters and the larger water birds, they eat a lot of fish over the course of a year, so for that reason they would certainly benefit from having more Twaite Shad in the river.
And can you tell us a bit about the habitats that we have on the island and here on the river?
Well, starting in the river, and moving onto the drier land. In the river you've got areas of deep, slack, muddy water, but you've also got areas of shallow, very well oxygenated water with clear gravel, which are quite contrasting for various different species of fish. Moving up the bank, you've got lots of areas of soft bank, which are really good for water birds, but also species like otters will use it to climb out and eat their prey, but also dragonflies, damselflies, and various other small mammals will live there as well.
Thanks, Sean. Let's stop here on the bridge and look back to the island and see what else we can see. Mark, is that the cathedral?
Absolutely. In the distance you've got the magnificent Worcester Cathedral, which would have been an amazing sight for people coming up the river on their boats. You've got the original flow of the River Severn going round to the left of the island, and that's where the fish would be heading upstream because that's the flow of water, and you can just make out the entrance to the fish pass on the left. And then you've got those two huge lock gates there for navigation, causing a real barrier for the fish moving upstream.
You can really see from this angle how it just looks like a great big wall. The fish would have swum up to that and had no chance of getting through.
No chance at all of moving through. You might get the occasional fish moving through just as they're opened, but yeah, even going round to the left, you've then got that weir, which is another blockage for them.
Let's go and take a closer look at the weir in the fish pass.
Okay, so I'll see you in a bit at the fish pass.
Thanks, Mark. So Sean, I understand that more than 25 different species of fish have been recorded using the fish pass.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you as an ecologist?
As an ecologist, a greater range of species means more biodiversity, and more biodiversity means a more complex and balanced food web. And when you've got a more complex and balanced food web, it makes for a healthier ecosystem, which is more resilient to fluctuations in individual populations.
Thank you, Sean. Our amazing volunteering teams based here at Diglis in Worcester continue to support the legacy of this project. Thanks to people giving their time, we can keep this unique structure fully functional and help the Twaite Shad move up the river to reach their spawning grounds in fresh water, ensuring the continuation of their life cycle for the first time in nearly 180 years. £50 could help provide our volunteers with the tools to clear litter and protect the fish pass from trash and debris, ensuring a consistent slow water flow, making it easier for the migrating fish to travel upstream. There are 3 ways you can donate today. Use the QR code on the screen or text Diglis followed by your donation amount to 70460. If you're following the stream on Just Giving Live, you can click the Give Now button. From this footpath to the fish pass, you get a really good view of the weir and the entrance to the fish pass. So whilst I carry on walking up to the fish pass, I'm just going to show you a short video produced by Charles Crundwell from this spot 2 years ago, whilst the fish pass was still being built. Charles is a fisheries specialist from the Environment Agency, and he's going to share some more facts about the life cycle of the Twaite Shad.
We're about 20 kilometres upstream of head of tide, which is where the Severn estuary finally runs out and enters into the freshwater River Severn. So the shad arrive here in around about May. So they enter the estuary around about mid-April. They use the tidal cycle and the moon phase to migrate upstream, and eventually they'll arrive here in May. So the shad, or the Twaite shad, is a member of the herring family. So unlike the herrings that we know from fishmongers, the Twaite shad chooses to come and spawn in fresh water to eke out its existence, to get out of the harsh environment of the sea and to lay its eggs in fresh water and get a bit of a gain on the other sea fish by doing so. So it is still very much a sea fish. It comes in, as I said, in April and May, and only spends about 30 days in fresh water before it actually returns to the sea post-spawning. So we know from our tracking results that they move upriver in shoals, and they move in a little bit of distance every night, and if the water temperature gets to about 16 degrees, they are stimulated to spawn. what they do is they release a few eggs every night. So it isn't the case like a salmon which releases all its eggs in one go. What they'll do is they will release a few the first night and then move on to the second night, and as conditions remain favourable, they'll pair up each evening and do what's called a kind of shad dance. The male will swim around the female as she releases her eggs and fertilise those eggs. Now, not many people see this event because, for security reasons for the shad themselves and to make them safe, they do it predominantly at night on the River Severn. The peak time is about 1:30 in the morning, so you have to get out and look out for them on good nights, good still nights in May if you want to. Well, you can see them if it's a bright night, but mainly you'll hear them. They give a very distinctive sound as the male circulates around the female, which is called a bull event. And you can actually record these and listen to them, and then you can work out how many shad are actually spawning in any reach at any point of the night. And once they're spawned, they'll turn tail and they'll actually go downstream very fast and back out to sea, because it's a dangerous environment for the river. It's very different to the sea. Now, the shad is an amazing fish because what it does is it comes back on the River Severn up to 5 times. So it's really important that our shad get back out to sea. So they go back out to sea, they feed until about November in the inner estuary, and then from our tracking data, we know they leave the estuary and go out into the wider sea before returning the following April. But historically, the shad used to go all the way up through England and then across into the Wales and the Welsh borders, above Shrewsbury into Welshpool. Now, they haven't been able to do that for the last 170 years since the weir behind me was built. This basically blocks them. And the reason it blocks them is because although there's plenty of water coming over the crest, shad are unable to jump. Unlike a salmon that would approach that weir, possibly take 2 or 3 attempts to jump it, swim up it and jump it. Shad don't do that. They are fantastic swimmers, but they're no good at jumping. So the velocity of water coming over that weir crest is just too great for them to swim up. So they've been confined to the lower river here from Worcester downstream for the last 170 years.
Aaron, this is a really impressive structure.
Yeah, so this is Diglis Fish Pass, the first of 4 fish passes on the River Severn. Its function is to allow fish to migrate up the river. The weirs have been put in place in the 1840s and they have put in a barrier really that have stopped the fish being able to migrate. So the design here you can see is a deep vertical slot made up of concrete, as you can see. The main channel is made up of C sections and they basically create pools for the fish to stop and rest really as they're coming up. The 2 side flows here are called auxiliary flows, and what they do is create a flow at the bottom of the pass that the fish know as throughfare, so they can see it and say, I can get through there, rather than the weir that's very fast flowing.
There must be an awful lot of maintenance that's needed here, and I understand we do that with the help of volunteers.
Yeah, volunteers are involved with all of it really. Weekly, we come to Diglis Fish Pass, we clear the debris screens to make sure that the flow is correct going through the pass and that the fish can go up into the river. But Diglis is quite unique in the sense that it has the viewing gallery, which you've probably heard about. So yeah, once a week with volunteers, we drain it down, get our waders on, put your marigolds on and clean the window by hand, and it's quite a fun experience.
You've been telling us that there are fish passes at islands across the river further upstream from here, and we've been using volunteers and citizen science to do some research across the whole project. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of monitoring that's gone on through the project really, and citizen scientists have been really important. So they go down every May and up to Upper Lode in Tewkesbury, and they count the number of shad that swim through the notch, and then we can calculate a run estimate of how many fish have come through, which is amazing. They've also been involved in eDNA sampling, which is taking samples of river water and you can analyse it and see what species of fish are in the river, which is just mind-blowing. It's really cool. But it's our only real way of finding out how far up the river the shad have got.
So this project has unlocked the river, and we've also had lots of research telling us more about the species that use the river too. So it's been a really all-round fantastic project.
Yeah, and there's a lot more to be learned over the years, definitely. We've just got to make sure they're working and look after them, and yeah, it's doing their job.
Thanks, Aaron. Let's go downstairs and have a look at the viewing gallery.
Follow me.
Mark, this is an incredible space.
Yeah, welcome to the viewing gallery. It is such a mesmerising place to be in. when we have visitors or school groups visiting and they first enter the viewing gallery, it's just that look of awe and wonder on their face as they descend and they see the window, hoping to see some fish. It's brilliant to bring not just the general public, but the educational groups, the school groups here, because it really means that the children engage with what's going on. So rather than it just looking like muddy water if they're walking around the river above, when they come down and they see the fish moving through, it shows what we're all about with the project. You know, there's lots of cheering of the fish as they go through. Some of the smaller fish might struggle slightly, and so there's a real kind of urging them to get through, and then a massive cheer when they finally get through to the other side of the window.
It's really a unique experience to get that peek below the water surface and to see the river from a different angle and all the different species of fish coming past the screen. And like you said, the children are able to watch that interaction between the different species and the way that they're really fighting against the current to get up the river. It really connects them to the river and to ecology and creates some incredible memories for them as well, being in this unique perspective.
That's right, and it's the only place in England and Wales that we have this viewing gallery, so we're really fortunate for Worcester to have that where people can come and visit.
And the viewing screen and the viewing gallery down here, we've got cameras set up that are part of an ongoing research project with one of our partner organisations, the Environment Agency. And they've been able to really get a greater understanding of how the Twaite Shad and other species are using the river.
So it's not just the educational side of things and the visitor side of things, it's also the scientific monitoring that goes on. So we have a camera at the back and we are in partnership with the Environment Agency, and when there's movement in the window it records a 20-second clip. That footage is looked at to count how many shad go through the window. Last year we had 757 shad moving through the window, which for the first time that the whole of the River Severn has been unlocked is absolutely fantastic. Working with Hull University, Bournemouth University and Cardiff University, we're also doing things such as tagging the fish so that we can track their movement. We can see at what point of the year they enter the river, how long they spend in the river. So we now know that shad spend an average of 25 days in the river and that it takes 46 minutes for them to move through the fish pass on average, although the fastest one went through in 2 minutes 46 seconds. So you know, obviously on a mission to get somewhere.
Thank you so much for your time today, Mark, and taking us on this brilliant tour of Diglis Island and the Fish Pass. It's been really interesting.
Pleasure, Laura.
So, as not entirely unexpected, we didn't see any Twaite Shad today come past the viewing gallery screen, but we've got a short section of film clip that we can show you now that was taken quite recently. Controlling the speed and flow conditions within the fish pass are essential to make the fish pass work properly for the fish. Our local team is responsible for the weekly drain down and safety inspection of the pass to ensure the flow conditions are suitable for a variety of fish. By the end of 2022, an incredible 25 different species had been recorded using the pass. £100 could help our team carry out this weekly drain down and inspection, essential to ensure the flow conditions are suitable for a variety of fish. There are 3 ways to donate. You can use the QR code, or you could text Diglis to 70460 to give the amount that you would like to give. Or if you're watching on Just Giving, you can click the Give Now button. Thank you for joining us on this immersive journey through Diglis Island and discovering the incredible work being done to save the Twaite Shad. We hope this experience has inspired you to take action and make a difference in protecting this endangered species and the river ecosystem. We thank everyone who has generously donated to support this vital conservation work. Your contributions could help maintain this fish pass and guarantee a new future for the Twaite Shad and other endangered species. If you missed the event, don't worry, we'll send you a recorded version in a few days so you can watch it at your convenience, or share it with others to help spread the message about the importance of protecting the Twaite Shad and the River Severn. Thank you again for your support, and we look forward to continuing this important work together. Before you go, we invite you to watch a final video that showcases our achievements as a charity over the past 10 years. Have a wonderful rest of the day.